Americans are distracted by UFOs, something truly sinister is happening on the southern border. The Biden administration, and I cannot believe this, is selling off parts of the border wall. Trump ripped into Biden for what he described as, quote, an almost criminal act. Have a listen.
We ordered an additional 200 miles of wall. It's very expensive, and now it's about double the price of what it would have been 6 years ago. And the administration is trying to sell it for 5 cents on the dollar, knowing that we're getting ready to put it up. And what they're doing is really an act. It's almost a criminal act. They know we're going to use it, and if we don't have it, we're going to have to rebuild it, and it'll cost double what it cost years ago.
Beyond a criminal act, it seems treasonous to me, Sean. And in addition, didn't the Biden administration promise a smooth transition? This seems to be an effort to disrupt Trump's agenda, one that people voted overwhelmingly for. They want the southern border secured.
Yeah, this is a real slap in the face of the American people. Look, James, I was down at the southern border probably 4 weeks ago, and there were piles and piles of this wall material that they had been told was not to be touched starting at noon on January 20th, 2021, when Biden was sworn into office. It has sat there. And now they're basically going to sell it for, as the president noted, pennies on the dollar, so that it has to be repurchased. And here's the most insulting part of it. You know, President Trump mentioned how much more expensive it's going to be. But it's because of the inflation that Biden caused that we're going to have to buy it again at a much steeper price. So they're selling it for pennies on the dollar. We're going to repay for it as taxpayers at a much higher cost because of the very policies that Kamala Harris and Joe Biden lost the election over. I mean, this is really adding insult to injury for so many Americans. Never mind the policy itself that they have allowed to, perpetrate our nation and allow this southern border to remain wide open. But now on the way out the door to be selling it off the way that they are is just unfathomable.
Yeah, I mean, you could not make this stuff up. This sort of behavior should disqualify the Democrats ever getting back into office for a generation, I reckon. Hey,
James,
a lot of people have commented. Yeah.
No, you're absolutely right. But do you understand that an Australian television network has asked more questions about this than the American media? There is zero curiosity about this in the American media. Where's the New York Times, the Washington Post, NBC asking Democratic lawmakers to be accountable for these decisions, to speak out against it? There's zero. Australian television has covered this issue more than American television.
Well, it just seems so obvious, Sean. I mean, it's an obvious story for one, but it's also clearly outrageous. Why the lack of curiosity by the media in the US? Are they just a mouthpiece for the Democratic Party and that's the way it is? Or do they not think it's a problem that people are pouring over the border?
I think it's more of the latter. They actually, I think, agree with this. They sort of don't want a southern border. They believe in an open borders policy. Despite the vast majority of the American people supporting President Trump on this issue. So I don't think they're covering it because they don't want to. They clearly, look, they'll cover everything the president says when it comes to deporting people in this country illegally. But when it comes to President Biden and his policy of not obeying the law and now selling off something that the American taxpayer has already paid for, not a peep.